Hi, this video is a very practical one on how to organise events. Organising events is incredibly rewarding. It's a great way to bring people together. It's a great way to start building a community. First step in organising events is to go to other people's events. It's good to go and write down some of your opinions, what was good, what was bad. So try and go to the event, but don't think of yourself as just a participant, but think of yourself as an observer as well. So that's the first thing to do. Think what you liked about the event, what you didn't like about the event, any particularly useful things the organisers said, any particular way they talk to attendees, and that will give you some good ideas of what to do and what to avoid. Another thing is, for the kind of event you're doing, try to find a template. So if you look online, there are loads of templates for events. Of course, this video is also a bit of a template, really. And it's really good to follow a template rigidly. So when I first organised the Tokyo Barcamp in 2009, I followed the Barcamp template very, very rigidly. Barcamp is a very easy type of event to organise. That's a good one to start with, actually. There are many things about organising events that seem counterintuitive. So one thing is, it doesn't matter so much when your event is. You should try to choose a day of the week and a time that matches your target audience or your target attendee group, but don't even spend a second thinking about it conflicting with other events, for example, because any date you choose is going to conflict with other events. On the subject of dates, it's good to set a date or at least get people interested in a time before you've got a venue. That sounds very counterintuitive, but again, there are plenty of venues for events. There are plenty of free venues for events. You can do events in restaurants, at universities, at companies that have the office spaces or meeting rooms are not being used in the evenings or weekends. Or you can rent an event space at a hotel. You can rent seminar rooms. But there are plenty of free places to have events. Schools often, when they are closed, they'll allow community events there at very little fee or no fee at all. So getting people interested in the event before getting a venue actually makes sense, because people who are interested in the event might have suggestions of venues. So point 3 would then be get help early on. Think of the things that you can do by yourself, but think of things you can't do by yourself or that other people would be better at doing. And then you can get some help. So I had so much help when I did the first Tokyo Barcamp. A lot of the sort of implementation of organising the event was done by other people. So I had a more of coordinating role and also motivating those volunteers. But a lot of the implementation was done by other people. Actually, most of my time was actually communication with potential attendees. So people who said they were interested, I was double checking, because it was a free event and you could register very easily just on the website. There was no ticketing system. So it was very important for me, because we could only take 100 people. The people who said they were going to come to the event really did. So I messaged and emailed every single one of them personally to confirm. And people who didn't confirm, I said, if you don't get back to me, you have to remove you from the list. Another thing is about costs. You're going to probably have some costs for the event. Not necessarily. You could get a free venue, and you could ask people to bring drinks and snacks to share. Obviously check that. Always try and get a venue that allows you to bring in food, or one that has their own catering, because food is so important for building a community and for having a good event. People enjoy it so much more. It's good to have the food to really concentrate on is sweet stuff. It's really good to have sweet stuff. People love desserts and things at events, sweet snacks, donuts, that kind of thing, cakes. and make a big deal out of the food, because that's the time when people are going to relax the most and sit down and talk to each other the most, or stand around talking to each other the most. You might have costs if you want to provide Wi-Fi, for example, and the venue doesn't have Wi-Fi. You might need to organise Wi-Fi for a day. You may have cleaning costs at the end of the day. That's always a good thing to budget for. You may have printing costs. You may want to give attendings T-shirts. The thing about the costs is all of them can be paid for either by the ticket price, or if you're doing a free event or a cheap event that's not going to be able to cover all the costs, then get some sponsors. And it's good to not talk to the sponsors about money, but talk to the sponsors about the thing they are going to be sponsoring. So you get them to sponsor not the event. That's tough. It's a tough sell. Why should they sponsor your event? But if you get them to sponsor a part of your event, they know exactly what they're paying for. You're going to be standing up and saying, this lunch is very kindly provided by Microsoft or Virgin Media or whatever the company is that's sponsoring you. Companies want to sponsor things because they want publicity, so it's important to realise you're giving them an opportunity. So you need to think very clearly about what that opportunity is. What are they getting? Are they getting a logo on a website? Are they getting? You're going to be announcing them and talking about the sponsor at the event. Are they going to be able to give promotional material to your attendees? Again, that a lot of people think, oh, it's embarrassing to ask for free stuff to give out to the people that come. But if a company's giving branded free stuff, that's an opportunity for them. They love to give out T-shirts, memory sticks, baseball caps. Back in the day, they used to give mouse pads, bags, loads, snacks, loads of things. Snack companies will obviously provide you free snacks just if you ask. Drinks companies do the same thing. So if you are, for example, asking a sponsor to pay for a meal, it's really good to get the sponsor to pay for the meal directly without the money going via you. This is much, much safer. So you say to the sponsor, do you have a catering company you usually use? And if they don't, or if they don't have that kind of time to get that organised, you find a catering company and you say to the sponsor, this catering company has said it's going to cost $10 a head or $15 a head, whatever it is, and we have 100 attendees, so can you pay $1,500 for the lunch? And they'll say if that's reasonable or not, and then you get the invoice from the catering company sent directly to the sponsor. You don't touch anything. It's so much safer going that way. Another point I'd say is that when you're in the early stages of organising the event, especially if you're not someone who has a big network of people. So when I started Tokyo Bar Camp, I didn't know many people. I certainly didn't have a network of people I could call upon. I do now. It's all built up from Tokyo Bar Camp. But when you're talking to people and they seem interested, then it's really worth, if they're interested in being any kind of volunteer, it's really worth following up with them again and again until they say they're not interested, or they're too busy or whatever, or they do something tangible to help. Another important thing to think about with events nowadays is photo policy, and make the photo policy very, very, very clear from early on. You say whatever your photo policy is going to be. So you might say lots of people are going to have cameras at this event, and if you come, then please understand you're very likely to be photographed, and some people are going to be sharing photos online. If you're not happy with that, please don't come to the event. That's one way to do it. I always like to go in the other direction a bit and just say, if you're going to bring a camera or be taking photos with your phone, please try to get people's permission before taking any photos. That's kind of, people who are really into photos don't like that, because of course it breaks the flow if they go and walk up to someone who is deep in conversation and say, this conversation looks really interesting, can I take a photo? However, I think that's a much better policy. Obviously, if there's children at the event, that's another thing to consider, the photo policy. tech events now in Europe and the US often have kind of a equality policy, harassment policy, that kind of thing. I would never have any of that at my kind of event. Basically, if your event is to kind of set up in a way that allows troublemakers to come along, people who are going to not treat other people with respect, then something's wrong with your event, or at least how you've set it up. I think it's really important to have an event that attracts the right kind of people. You could have just a very general policy like the Noisebridge Hackerspace founded by Mitch Altman and Jacob Appelbaum. The policy is just be excellent to everyone. So you could have something like that. You could, if you want, look online for anti-harassment policy for an event or whatever, and have sort of a full thing that people basically have to agree to join the event. Saying that they will avoid any abusive language or whatever it's going to be. But I would never organise an event that would need a harassment policy, because then you've got enforcement issues and all this kind of stuff. I like events of 100 people or around that kind of size. Probably not more than 150 is probably the biggest I'll do. I think 100 works really, really well, and generally you don't have those kind of problems with people misbehaving. If you have, the events I've organised never had any trouble at all, as far as I'm aware, and I'm very, very, very heavily involved in the organising, so I think I would be aware if there were any troubles. I hope this video has been useful for you. Please do organise events. It's a fantastic thing to do, and if you do it, you'll start appreciating events that you go to much more. If you want to get started but you think organising an event is too big a leap, then go to some other events and be a volunteer there. So attend some other events first and then go and volunteer at some other events. If you found this video useful or interesting, one thing you could do for me is make a donation at my cancer fund, because I have terminal cancer. I'm trying to pay for special treatment that could get me a few more months to live. It's very upsetting saying that, but that's the deal. My website for the cancer fund is www.matthewdons.org. That's MATTHEW, D for Delta, O for Oscar, N for November, S for Sierra.org. Thank you ever so much for listening. Goodbye.